Hello friends, this is Vivi and we're back with a chess game from the Lindores Abbey tournament. As we mentioned on the previous video, Dubov won that very good game on the game 2 of the finals. Now this is game 3 of the final day of the Lindores finals. So Dubov now has the white pieces and Nakamura needs to win this game so enable to stay alive and has a chance for winning the tournament. And so, without losing any more time, I'm going to drive you straight into this very interesting game. So now Dubov with the white pieces opens with c4. So we have the English opening. It's the opening that Dubov has mostly played in this tournament with the white pieces. And Naga goes e5. He needs to win it, so he's gonna go for a very sharp line against the English. And now Dubov goes knight c3. So we have the reverse Sicilian on the board of the English, reverse Sicilian of the English, and now knight c6 from Naga. And after Dubov plays knight f3, this is the 3-knight game with a reverse Sicilian. And now Naga goes f5. Of course, he needs to put control here on the center as much as possible with those two pawns here, because as we said, he needs a win and only a win for this game. And now d4 from Dubov. He strikes in the center. He strikes the very good center that Nakamura had, and now e4 from Naga. He attacks the knight. Knight g5, Dubov moves the knight, and now bishop b4 from Naga. He develops the bishop while pinning the knight here on c3. And now Daniil goes d5. He advances the pawn forward while attacking the knight. Knight here, and now Naga goes knight e5. He moves the knight, of course, and now queen. Whoa! The interference went. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened with this interference here. So we let it here on d5 when Daniil attacked that knight, and now Naga moves the knight on e5, and now queen b3, putting pressure on this bishop and asking Nakamura what you're gonna do. You're gonna move the bishop here. You're gonna on a5, or you're gonna retreat with the bishop in this diagonal here. And Naga goes bishop c5. He retreats bishop back, and now a3 back from Dubov. And now knight f6 from Naga. Develops the knight and prepare to castle, of course. And now knight a4. Dubov attacks this very strong bishop here, and now bishop e7. Goes back with the bishop. He doesn't want to part with this very strong dark square bishop. And now bishop f4 from Dubov. He attacks the knight and also prepared to castle queenside. And now Naga goes knight g6, attacking the bishop, putting pressure here. He doesn't want to exchange pieces. He wants to keep the pieces as much as possible on the board so he can have more winning chances. And okay, the game continues with Daniil goes d6, advances the pawn and offering the pawn here. And now c captures on d6 from Naga. Knight goes to c3, and now d5 from Naga. He pushes the pawn forward on the center. And now e3 from Daniil. He doesn't want to capture this pawn yet. And now Naga goes castling, and now Daniil goes rook d1. And d6 from Naga. He closes this bishop's diagonal here. Whoop. And now bishop e2 from Daniil. Naga goes a6, give the king some breathing room, and now castle from Daniil. Bishop e6 from Naga, develops the bishop, and now knight captures on d5 from Daniil. He finally decides to capture the pawn back. Bishop captures on d5, and now c captures on d5. So Now Daniil has this pawn here in the center that cannot be captured for the moment, but Nakamura has a lot of compensation for that. He has developed, all the pieces are developed. Only this rook here that is going to be developed soon, and then he's gonna have a nicer game for later. And now Dubov goes queen b6. Naga goes queen b6. So he offers a queen trade here, and now before going for the queen trade, Daniil goes rook to c1. He wants to control the open c file because, as we all mentioned, you need to put the pieces you need to put the rook on the open file always. And now Naka very happily goes queen captures on b3. He trade queens, and also with doing this he doubles the Dubov's pawn on the queen side, because Dubov of course goes pawn captures on b3. And now rook f to c8. Nakamura challenges this rook on the c file, and now Daniil doesn't trade, but rather he goes rook to c4. He wants Nakamura to capture here, so he can fix the pawns. He can fix the pawn structure that is messed for the moment. But Naga, of course, doesn't go for that. He goes knight d7. He wants to remaneuver that knight to a much optimal square. And now rook f to c1. Daniil doubles up on the c file, and now knight b6 from Naka, attacking the rook. And now Daniil trades a pair of rooks with a rook captures on c8. Naka recaptures with a rook on c8, and Daniil trades one more time on c8. Captures, and now this is a very equal position. Daniil manages to trade both of the rooks, and now there are only 3 light pieces on the board, and with 7 pawns each. So let's see how the game is gonna go. Nakamura Dubov goes g4 first. He wants to trade that pawn, so the bishop can capture them. And now f captures on g4. Bishop captures on g4, and now knight b6. Nakamura puts the knight back into the game and also put pressure on this pawn here. Bishop g3 from Daniil. He doesn't want to part with the bishop pair for the moment. And now knight h4 from Nakamura. He finds a very good way of remaneuvering this knight. If Dubov captures here, and then he would capture with the bishop, and we would have a very control on the dark squares. So this was a very good move from Naka. And now Daniil goes knight f4. He also wants to remaneuver the knight to a much optimal square. And now knight f3 check with from Nakamura. And now this is a very critical moment, because here Dubov, because clearly Nakamura wants to send this knight to d3, for example. Let's say Dubov must play the move here, king f1, because with king f1, Nakamura is going to try to go from for this idea, but then he can just go king here, and then he can offer this pawn for Nakamura, but he will have very control on the king side. But here Dubov didn't play the correct way of king to f1 here, but rather he goes king to h1, and this is a very big mistake from him, because this move allows Nakamura to go immediately to knight d2, attacking that pawn, but now king is too far away from the action here on the queen side, and if Nakamura wants to win this pawn, of course, and then those 2 pawns here with somehow runs forward, and then he's gonna create a pass pawn that is gonna be very dangerous for the endgame. That's why it was much better for Dubov to put the king on f1 and then on e2, so the king could have been very close to this queen side here to protect those pawns from marching forward. But okay, Dubov decides against that, and now after Nakamura goes knight d2, he goes bishop f5. He now Nakamura is going to capture here. He wants to capture here on c4. And of course Nakamura goes for it, captures on v3, Dubov capture on e4, and now knight c4 from Naga. Attacking also this pawn, he wants also to win this, so he can just have those two connected passed pawns there that they're gonna win the game for him. And now knight d3 from Dubov. He finds a way to protect this pawn, might be very important for later. And now a5. And Naga of course pushes those pawns forward. He wants to queen one of those as soon as possible so he can secure a win and tie the score on the final game. And now bishop f3. Dubov wants to remaneuver this bishop, puts maybe this bishop here to d1 so the bishop can protect this diagonal here. And now b5 from Nakamura, reinforcing these outspots here for the knight, and of course preparing to push a4, a3. And now bishop d1 as Dubov planned to control the diagonal, and now attacking the knight here on b3. And now knight goes to d2. And those knights here are connected to each other, as we can see. Like this here. And now Dubov decides to go b3. He attacks that strong relation between those two knights. And now knight goes back, of course, to b6. Knight f4 from Dubov. And now a4 from Naga. He finally pushes a4, and now he's gonna create a passed pawn. Dubov captures on a4, Naga recaptures on a4, and now he has this very incredible, dangerous passed pawn here that is almost queening. And of course Dubov cannot capture it for the moment because this knight does a very wonderful job defending this pawn. And now Dubov goes knight d3. Naga goes a3, he advances the pawn forward, and now Dubov goes knight b4. He prevents this pawn to be pushed here on a2, and now knight captures on d5. Naga won another pawn. Of course you cannot capture here, because if you capture the knight, for example here, then the pawn just march forward. There is no stopping the pawn. Whatever black plays, for example, if you can just capture also the bishop, king goes here, and you can just promote to a queen here, and this is completely winning. Somebody you remove the knight here, and then pawn promotes, and this is game over. That's why Dubov didn't recapture this knight here, but rather it goes knight to a2. It protects that a2 square, and now Naga goes king f8. He improves the position of the king. He wants to send the king in the center of the board. That it could be very useful for the endgame. And now bishop a4 from Dubov, and now knight e4. Naga attacks this bishop here. He wants to trade that knight for that bishop, and now bishop goes to b3. Naga puts pressure on this knight here, but of course Naga doesn't allow to be captured, and goes knight to d to c3. He wants to exchange here. And now Dubov goes knight b4. He can't stand for the exchange of the knights, because otherwise this pawn would be very strong here and he would lose the piece. And now Nakamura goes knight d2, attacking that bishop on b3 here. And now bishop to e6. Dubov found a way to keep this diagonal here, to not let this pawn to be pushed here. But Nakamura goes d5. He blocks the diagonal here, and of course cannot capture here, because otherwise the pawn is just too strong. And now Daniil goes knight c2. He attacks the pawn here, but now Nakamura goes knight c4. He protects the pawn. a4 from Daniil, but now finally a2 from Nakamura. And this pawn here is gonna queen very soon. And now he captures on d5 from Daniil. Nakamura goes bishop d6, he wants to trade the bishops, and now king f3. From Daniil, king e7 from Naka, and now bishop f5. Knight b5 from Nakamura, now white goes bishop d3, he attacks the knights there, but now simply Nakamura goes knight d4 check. And now Daniil needs to capture this knight here, of course, and now he captures that knight, but now we have just a1 queen. And now Nakamura has the queen on the board, and this is just completely lost for Daniil. But he tries one more move. He goes knight f5 with check. He wants to win that one of those light pieces that black have. But Nakamura goes king f6. Daniil tries bishop c4. He captures the knight, but after Nakamura goes bishop captures on c3, it was in this position on move 53 that Daniil Dubov resigns the game because there is nothing more to be done. Of course, Nakamura has the queen on the board, and he's after he's gonna capture the bishop here, he's just queen c3 check, and after you move the king somewhere, then it's just capturing the bishop, and then this is no point of continuing this. So this was an excellent comeback from Nakamura. He won game 3, and now the score is tied 1-1. So it's going to be another game 4, and if that game 4 still ends in a draw, then we're going to have the Armageddon, where Nakamura would have the right to choose. So thank you all for watching, and we'll continue showing to you games for the Lindores Abbey final. Thank you all, and blessings.